But from time to time, it's good to be reminded about this thing, you know. Global warming and what can be done about it. Global warming, and warning at the same time, which refers to an average increase in the Earth's temperature, which in turn causes changes in climate, has been causing havoc on people and the planet Earth in general. Global warming, as we may all know, is caused by the emission of heat trapping gases produced by the vehicles, power plants, industrial processes, including deforestation. As these gases build up, they act like a big blanket overheating the planet and threatening our health, our economy, and our environment. We have experienced its effects. Sometimes we just couldn't connect it to global warming. One is the increased loss of our polar ice caps, leading to rising sea levels and land loss. Islands around the world are now disappearing underwater. One source reports, and I quote, "For the first time, the rising ocean levels have washed away an inhabited island." Luhachara Island was at one point home to 10,000 people. It, along with several other spits of land near the Indian mainland, is now permanently underwater. From the article, as the seas continue to swell, they will swallow whole island nations, from the Maldives to the Marshall Islands, inundate vast areas of countries from Bangladesh to Egypt, and submerge parts of scores of coastal cities. 8 years ago, the first uninhabited islands in the Pacific atoll nation of Kiribati vanished beneath the waves. The people of low-lying islands in Vanuatu, this is part of my practice in Melanesia, also in the Pacific, have been evacuated as a precaution, but the land still extends out above the sea. The disappearance of Luhachara Island, once home to 10,000 people, is unprecedented, unquote. Other effects of global warming, as we know, are the increase and severity of storms like hurricanes and tornadoes, and more frequent seismic and volcanic activity. This is basically what is happening in the United States nowadays, in the central Midwest. Earthquakes are happening in countries, in places that are unheard of. Just recently in Indonesia, in Chile. If Mother Earth could talk, I believe this is what she has been telling us. Enough. But we do not listen. Some see these natural catastrophes as Mother Earth's ways of avenging what we have done to her. We all know, once Mother Nature fights back or strikes, it's hard to control. If Mother Earth were a human victim, it seems like she is yearning for some kind of a punitive justice. That is punishment for the perpetrators of environmental or ecological crimes and destruction. Sometimes it also makes me think that Mother Earth yearns for retributive justice, which is an eye for an eye and tooth for a tooth kind of justice. You did this to my land, I will do it to your community. These two, punitive and retributive justice, are victim justice. These are the kinds of justice that are embedded in a victim narrative, in a victim story. Like someone who is going through so much pain because of others' neglect or wrongdoings, resulting to feeling anger and loss of meaning and purpose. For someone who perceives himself or herself as a victim of something, you could listen and understand the kind of justice that this person yearns for. Especially if the person hasn't gone beyond the victimization stage yet. Usually, it's always punish the perpetrator, punish the offender, or we will do it to them as well. That's a victim narrative. That's a victim justice. Some indigenous communities in the Philippines do believe that Mother Nature can strike back if people do not take care of her. The Manuvut tribe, for example, this is one ethnic community, indigenous community in the Philippines that I've been very much involved with in my research work. The Manuvut tribe believes in a spirit God who resides in every creature, living and non-living things. Hence, if destruction befalls on nature, the spirit God can strike back. So one way to appease the spirit god is to initiate rituals and do offerings of in kind. Of course, from a scientific point of view, it's the cause and effect. But in some indigenous communities' culture and tradition, they see it as Mother Earth's way of striking back for what humanity has done to her. In Surigao City, in Mindanao, in my very home place, the place where I was born, where I grew up in, and every time I go to the Philippines, this is where my family resides. There's the whole issue right now of pit mining and strip mining, open pit mining and strip mining. It's been supported by the government through the Department of Environmental and Natural Resources. Open pit mining and strip mining, conceptually, I don't have any problem with this. The problem is that these mining corporations don't take much responsibility and accountability in terms of how they operationalize their business. Many of what used to be pristine beaches, literally white beaches, beautiful beaches, right in my home place are now literally washed out. They're totally gone. People's means of livelihood are now gone. And then this mining operation also creates tension and division among many indigenous communities. Some are in favor because they are being employed, and some aren't because they are seeing the future of the impact of these in their children's children. That's why for the very first time in 6 years, I'll bring my students from George Mason University to my very home place to see this for themselves in June of this year. I believe that we have a major role to play in taking care of Mother Earth. This is not new message for us. We are stewards of God's creation. It's our responsibility to enhance further what God has given us and not destroy it. I myself am guilty of not doing my part fully well in exercising my stewardship. For all the good things that Mother Earth has given us, I think she deserves better. And I think it's our responsibility as moral agents endowed with freedom to restore the beauty and dignity of Mother Earth. Dignity of Mother Earth so she can continue to sustain humanity. According to the principle and belief of many indigenous communities, the earth does not belong to us. We belong to the earth. Our reading this afternoon is about the prophet Amos, bringing out into the open the hypocrisy and the bigotry of Israel, who pretended to be religious and devout believers of a living God and just God, but never exemplified in their day-to-day conduct what they believe in. Amos' sharp criticism of the rich and of oppression makes it clear how important it is to take care of those who are being oppressed and exploited in history. Prophet Amos' message resonates to our present times. I could hear him speaking on behalf of Mother Earth as well. Prophet Amos seems to continue advocating for the preservation and sustainability of planet Earth. Let justice roll down like waters and righteousness like an ever-flowing stream. What a beautiful, refreshing message by Amos, also known as the prophet of justice. Even Amos could not help but use the metaphor of nature, waters and ever-flowing stream, in bringing home his message of justice. But what will happen if all the waters and rivers dry up because of global warming? Today, it's a rainy day, and Jill, what did you say, Jill? Some people say it's very nasty.
Complaining about the rain and it being a bad Sunday. I said this is a birthday gift from Mother Earth because we're behind in our rains.
Yep.
That's right. That's right. Yes, thank you. And so we welcome this. It's not nasty, but I think Mother Earth deserves this kind of rain, and perhaps even more rain. As stewards, we have the responsibility to extend to Mother Earth the gift of what I call restorative justice. Instead of punitive or retributive justice, I think Mother Earth deserves restorative justice. Let us restore what has been dismembered because of our misuse and abuse of power. We need to be creative and resourceful with our lifestyle. In restorative justice, we need to acknowledge our wrongdoings towards Mother Earth and repair the harm we have caused her. We are moral agents, and therefore we have the obligation and freedom to do what is right. The question is, How can we establish a world of harmony and order? In the Old Testament, restorative justice is practiced in what they called the year of Jubilee. I wonder if you have heard of this. On this year, Sabbath is being extended not only to human population, but to the environment as well. This is very biblical. The principle is simple. You have 6 years to work, you have 6 years to farm and plant the field. But on 7th year, let the land rest so it can recharge. This is their way to honor God, the Creator and creating God. For example, in Leviticus 25, 1 to 13, the Lord said to Moses on Mount Sinai, and I quote, "Say to the people of Israel, when you come into the land which I give you, the land shall keep a Sabbath to the Lord." In fact, this is also found in the story of creation in Genesis. 6 years you shall sow your field, and 6 years you shall prune your vineyard and gather in its fruit. But in the 7th year there shall be a Sabbath of solemn rest for the land, a Sabbath to the Lord. In Exodus 23, 10 to 11, it says that on the 7th year you shall let the land lie untilled and unharvested, that the poor among you may eat of it, and the beasts of the field may eat what the poor leave. So also shall you do in regard to your vineyard and your olive grove. The Sabbath year legislation also provided for the restoration of freedom for those who, in their need, have sold themselves in servitude to their fellow Israelites. This is the beauty of the year of the Jubilee, because it does not just focus on Mother Earth per se, but also including to humanity. Exodus 21, 2 to 6, it says, when you purchase a Hebrew slave, of course, that was part of their trade industry, he is to serve you for 6 years, but in the 7th year, he shall be given his freedom without cost. If he comes into service alone, he shall leave alone. If he comes with a wife, his wife shall leave with him. The year of Jubilee extended far beyond land and the restoration of freedom. It was also designed for relaxation or canceling of debts for fellow Israelites. Capitalists are going to be upset with this. Deuteronomy 15, 1 to 6, for example, says, and I quote, "At the end of every 7 years, you must cancel debts." Can you imagine that? This is how it is to be done. Every creditor shall cancel any loan they have made to a fellow Israelite. They shall not require payment from anyone among their own people, because the Lord's time for canceling debts has been proclaimed. You may require payment from a foreigner, but you must cancel any debt your fellow Israelite owes you. However, there need be no poor people among you, for in the land the Lord your God is giving you to possess as your inheritance, the Lord will richly bless you. If only you fully obey the Lord your God and are careful to follow all these commands I am giving you today. For the Lord your God will bless you as he has promised, and you will lend to many nations, but will borrow from none. You will rule over many nations, but none will rule over you. Why can't we do this today? Or it's already a thing of the past. Of course, this is great news for debtors, but a terrible news for the creditors. Any country whose economic system is based on capitalism will certainly go bankrupt if this is going to happen. Or maybe there would be alternative and creative ways of living. However, in an egalitarian society, this is how it is supposed to work. Like the early Christians, for example, in Acts 2, 42 to 46, and Acts 4, 32 to 36. The beauty about the year of Jubilee is that it has strong environmental, social, economic, and political implications. The whole world celebrates not just the 1%, but the 99%, including their pets, their animals, their gardens, their farmlands. Everybody and every created order is given time to rest and relax. Even our farmers here in the United States can tell us about this. Now, in order for the land to yield a good harvest, you have to put more and more fertilizers, organic and inorganic, because otherwise the land no longer has the nutrients needed in order to produce good harvest. Whereas several years ago, the land was very fertile and rich. The same thing with water resources. Fishermen in many countries in Southeast Asia in particular even wonder about this. Now they have to fish for several miles away from the seashore or from the shore and still very, very few harvests. Whereas before they don't have to fish that far in order to get harvest or find good harvest. I think this is something that we could look forward to. Maybe at this point, I'm just thinking out loud here. The notion of the year of Jubilee. Why can't we do it? Why can't we practice? Even just for the sake of social experimentation. In the movie, An Inconvenient Truth. How many of you have seen this movie? This beautiful movie, yeah. Al Gore argues that the way to prevent the potential catastrophe global warming represents is for each of us to make a personal commitment to bring about lasting change in our lives, our communities, and the world. According to the science Gore presents so expertly, the world has 10 years or less to turn things around before it's too late. But Gore sees that as a reason for urgency, not despair. Burning fossils such as natural gas, coal, oil, and gasoline raises the level of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. And carbon dioxide is a major contributor to the greenhouse effect and global warming. According to the source I'm using, we can help to reduce the demand for fossil fuels, which in turn reduces global warming, by using energy more wisely. And I think the following items are applicable mostly here in the United States setting, being one of the countries that use energy the most, in the whole world. Here are 10 simple, very practical actions we can take to help reduce global warming, and with these, I would like to end our reflection. These are not new. Many of us have been doing this already. But from time to time, I think it's important to be reminded, just a friendly reminder. And I hope it's okay. For me, these are some practical gestures by which we can extend to Mother Earth our gift of restorative justice. Of course, the 3 R's, right? Very common. Reduce, reuse, recycle. And Jerry has just, shared that with the kids. Let's do our part to reduce waste by choosing reusable products instead of disposables. Back to tap water. But tap water is getting riskier too and dangerous to drink because we don't know where, what's in there in our water reservoir at this point. By recycling half of our household waste, it says we can save 2,400 pounds of carbon dioxide annually. And then use less heat and air conditioning. Just very interesting information here. It says adding insulation to our walls and attic and installing weather stripping or caulking around doors and windows can lower our heating cost more than 25%. By reducing the amount of energy we need to heat and cool our home. I hope my landlord knows about this here in Fairfax. And then number 3, change a light bulb. Do you know that there's a new bulb that's going to be available, on the stores in June or July, and its lifespan is 20 years. I just read it this morning. I wonder how much it would cost. Okay, so it says change a light bulb. And I think we have that already, no? If every US family replaced one regular light bulb with a CFL, or the so-called compact fluorescent light, it would eliminate 90 billion pounds of greenhouse gases, the same as taking 7.5 million cars off the road. Sounds like an over-exaggeration, right? But these are scientific studies. And then drive less and drive smart. There you go. Okay, and then buy energy-efficient products. I tell you, some of these I'm guilty of. Okay. Use less hot water. Use the off switch when appliances are not in use. Plant a tree, of course. It says a single tree will absorb approximately 1 ton of carbon dioxide during its lifetime. Get a report card from our utility company, because many utility companies provide free home energy audits to help consumers identify areas in their homes that may not be energy efficient. In addition, many utility companies offer rebate programs to help pay for the cost of energy efficient upgrades. And then the 10th is encourage others to conserve. These 10 steps will take us a long way toward reducing our energy use and our monthly budget. And less energy use means less dependence on the fossil fuels that create greenhouse gases and contribute to global warming. Part of my dream right now, and I've been dreaming of this, is sometime this December or this summer when I return to the Philippines, I'm going to spend, if not a week, at least a couple days to be in the forest without electricity. You know, I think this is now a luxury for me, which is part of my growing up home environment when I was a kid. But this is something that I've been yearning for, just the healthiness of living in this kind of an environment. So let's continue to be mindful in terms of restoring Mother Earth to its beauty and grandeur so that it can sustain us in the long run. Amen.